You're looking at a 4th of July weekend that should have been ordinary. Barbecue on paper plates, rodeo dust in the lungs, a round of golf nobody will remember in a week, a young dad cradling his newborn between fireworks and firsts, a 25-year-old who had a new job lined up, a tank full of plans, and a temper that, on this one day, ran too hot. His name is Chance Englebert, and on July the 6th, 2019, under the wide Nebraska sky, he walked away to cool off and stepped straight into a mystery that refuses to let go. Today, we're not chasing monsters in alleys or fingerprints on glass. We're chasing a timeline, a last ping, a few seconds of camera footage, and 100 questions echoing off the buttes. This is the story of the man who vanished between two breaths and the families who still won't stop holding the third. Stay with me. Keep your eyes open, and tell me in the comments, if a single argument could turn an afternoon into a lifetime of not knowing, how carefully would you choose your last words? A boy built for the saddle, a man built for the grind. Before the headlines, there was the ranch, South Dakota win, fences that needed mending, and bulls that didn't care you were only 15. Chance Leslie Englebert, born December 1993, grew up in Burdock with dust on his jeans and purpose in his hands. Rodeo wasn't a hobby, it was a second language, the kind that wins you a scholarship to Laramie County Community College in Cheyenne, where spurs hang behind dorm doors and 8 seconds can buy you groceries. He didn't just ride, he learned to fix what breaks. Welding, diesel mechanics, a future drawn in steel and fuel, not theory. And yet, hear this, under the grit and more grit, a gentleness, the kind of guy who, later, would kiss the top of his newborn's head and promise to be a better man than the world expected. 2018, he meets Bailey online. Messages become phone calls, calls become plans, plans become marriage. By May 2019, their son arrives, tiny fingers gripping a man who has held onto 1,000 ropes, and finally realizes he's never held anything this fragile. And then life does what life does, gives and takes. He loses a coal mine job he's been proud of, lines up a new one at a propane company back in Moorcroft, Wyoming, home base, a restart after a rough patch, a pivot, not a collapse. If you've ever skidded on gravel and told yourself you meant to do it, yeah, you know this chapter. July 6, 2019, the day that won't stop repeating Gehring, Nebraska, 4th of July weekend, family, rodeo, a round of golf, boys being boys, right? Except today, words turn sharp. Somebody says something about the new job, something that lands wrong. The air goes tight. He tells Bailey he wants to leave early, drive back to Moorcroft. They return to her grandparents' place. He says he needs a walk to cool off. That walk, that little walk we've all taken after an argument, is the last confirmed choice we can pin to him. 9:12-ish p.m. Cameras in nearby Terrytown catch him. Baseball cap, work clothes, that steady ranch gait. He appears to be following a map on his phone, south and east toward what? An old habit? A friend's place? A line on the map that simply looked like it would lead out of the feeling he was in? 9:08 p.m. A text leaves his phone. Garbled letters, the kind you'd send if your fingers were flying or someone else's fingers were. A single grumpy emoji. His mother reads it later and says, he doesn't use emojis. A mother's instinct is not testimony, but it is a siren. Then silence, the worst kind. Not the kind that lets you sleep, the kind that turns down the volume on your whole life. The search that drew a line across the plains. The next mornings are a blur of sirens and command tents, coffee and styrofoam, and maps tattooed with highlighter. About 150 people, 18 agencies, boots in the cattails, air units skimming the horizon, horses nosing the draws, ATVs buzzing fence lines, volunteers scraping their shins and calling his name until their throats burn. They grid thousands of acres up to the Wyoming line. Waterways, rail lines, culverts, canal banks. They talk to farmers and ranchers. They fly drones over the North Platte's dark shoulders. And then the searches continue. Months later, years later. Not official anymore. Just people who can't stand the idea that a human being could slip between blades of grass and be gone. You know those people. You might be one. You bring a shovel and a hope and you tell yourself you'll be the one to find a belt buckle under a cottonwood, a boot print where there shouldn't be any. You don't stop because stopping would mean no. You don't say that word. No arrests, no charges. A missing persons case that becomes a mirror, and everybody who looks into it sees a different culprit. Tell me, if your last hard conversation with someone you love was the last one ever, would you tell anyone what was said? Or would you let that burn you quietly for the rest of your life? Voice notes and vacuum theories multiply like prairie dogs. An accident near the river, a ride with the wrong stranger, a fall into a place the sun doesn't reach. People point fingers at in-laws, at drifters, at the unforgiving water, at the man himself. But law enforcement never finds the kind of evidence that lets you pin down a story and say, this is the one. No blood, no confirmed struggle, no clear sign of foul play, nothing to arraign. Only pieces, texts, pings, footsteps on video, a day that went sideways, a young father who wanted to cool off and never cooled down again. Meanwhile, two families grieve in different dialects. It happens that way. Grief chooses its own weather. It rains on one ranch and leaves the next one in drought. It breaks people in half who were already trying to hold themselves together with baling twine and promise, the shape of a life you can hold in your hand. Chance's story is bigger than that last night. It's rodeo grit and diesel classes and an infant's yawn. It's the way a man can be strong enough to stick a bull and still tender enough to heat a bottle at 3 a.m. It's demolition derby nights and the clank of tools and the way you kiss your wife's forehead before you grab your hat. The missing never stop being whole people just because the story zeroes in on a single frame. And still, we circle back to the frames we've got. The video, the text, the last ping, the walk. If a map app could testify, what would it say? He was going here. He was going home. Or would it say nothing at all because data doesn't care the way we do? A timeline is not justice. Years pass. 3, 4, 5, 6. Independent searchers keep coming. Momentum ebbs and surges. Seasonal grasses grow tall and lie down again. Babies born in 2019 now ride bikes. Students from that summer are finishing grad school. Grief's calendar is a cruel one. It counts differently for the people who still set a plate at family gatherings that never gets used. And then, listen to the way a whole room goes quiet when somebody says, they might have found something. October 11th, 2025, reported, an alert near the monument authorities are called to an area near Scottsbluff National Monument. The ground there knows old wars and older seas. Human remains are located. Items at the scene, we're told, belong to chance. The remains have not been positively identified as of this recording. Families hold their breath in a way that hurts the ribs. We don't rush that process here. We don't speculate past the line of respect. Identification belongs to science and next of kin, and the timeline that follows belongs to investigators who have to say things out loud no parent should ever have to hear. But hear this too. Discovery is not closure. It's a new door. Sometimes it opens into answers. Sometimes it opens into more rooms where the light switch isn't where you left it. If you've walked that hall, drop A in the comments for those who are walking it now. The power shift from where is chance to who failed him and how. For 6 years, the loudest question was where. Then, slowly, painfully, the question changes shape. Who missed what? Did we overtrust a text? Did we undervalue a mother's instinct? Did we search the right water, the right culverts, the right bends? Did someone see something and decide it was none of their business in a small town where business is the air? This is the part where some of you will expect me to name a villain. I won't. The evidence doesn't let me, and naming the wrong villain is just a different kind of harm. Instead, I'm going to tell you where the power really shifts, from a single family trying to ring one doorbell after another, to a community deciding it will not shrug and say, that's just the way it goes out here. The power shifts when strangers organize their own searches, when they pay for billboards, when they keep the comments kind on the mother's Facebook posts. It shifts when a county budget gives our teams the training they asked for 2 summers ago. It shifts when one person calls in a tip, even if they think it might be nothing. There are villains in this story, if you insist on the word. Indifference, fatigue, and the lie that a quiet evening argument is too small to matter. Those are the suspects I'm willing to name out loud. The map we can still draw. Let's trace the lines we can hold without breaking the truth. Chance Englebert grew up in South Dakota ranch country, rodeoed hard enough for a scholarship, and trained his hands to build and fix. He married Bailey in 2018. They welcomed a son in May 2019. After a layoff, Chance was due to start a new job at a propane company in Moorcroft, Wyoming, the week after the 4th. July 6, 2019. An argument at a golf outing in Gering escalates. He wants to go back to Wyoming. Back at the in-laws, he chooses a walk to cool off. Video captures him in Terrytown that evening, seemingly following a phone map. 9:08 p.m. A garbled text with a grumpy emoji leaves his phone. His mother says that's not his style. His phone goes dark. Searches by 18 agencies, 150 people, and countless volunteers stretch to the state line. Nothing definitive is recovered. Theories multiply. Evidence does not. Reported October 11, 2025. Remains are found near Scotts Bluff National Monument with personal items linked to Chance. Identification pending at the time of this narration. That's the map we can draw without stealing lines from anyone else's pain. The ache that learns new words, Bailey's, his parents, his brothers. This isn't a courtroom, it's a kitchen table. It's his wife calling his name into a night that will not answer. It's two brothers who look at each other and know there was always one more hand to help with a gate. It's parents who still dream in footsteps and wake up listening. Let me say this as plainly as I can. You do not have to agree about what happened to agree that a child deserves a father, that a wife deserves an answer, that parents deserve to lay down the kind of flowers that have a date on the card. The lesson no one wants to need, but we do. We tell these stories not to rehearse grief, but to practice vigilance. Here's the lesson. Chance's case won't stop teaching me. Don't let pride drive your feet. If an argument gets sharp, cool off, but tell someone your route, share your live location, carry a light, carry water, and let the people who love you be overbearing for one night. Trust your gut twice. If a text doesn't sound like the person you know, you are allowed to say so. If the ache in your chest says, call, call. If your neighbor's porch light hasn't been off in 48 hours, knock. Communities are safety nets. When we stretch them, fund your search teams, show up for trainings, learn how to look, how to mark, how to call things in without contaminating a scene. Teach your kids that mind your business doesn't apply to cries for help. And to the person hearing this who's boiling in silence after an argument, take the keys, take the breath, not the walk into the dark without your people. The beat that doesn't resolve if the reported discovery near the monument becomes official, one chapter ends. Another one starts. Cause, manner, accountability, if any, can be found. If it doesn't, the map stays open, the phone stays dark, and a whole county keeps looking out windows when the wind changes. Either way, the ache of not knowing doesn't get to write the final line, because somebody knows something. Somebody always does. A week after the reported discovery, a ranch hand mending fence near the monument finds something glinting in the clay. A phone back plate, sand scoured and bent, with the ghost of a sticker only a handful of people would know. The serial number is legible. When investigators run it, the system returns an improbable note. This device, registered to a replacement ordered after July 6, 2019, was activated for 9 minutes on a tower that never should have reached that canyon. 9 minutes, one unsent message in drafts, and a contact name no one expects to see. We're going to open that file in part 2. Until then, take care of each other in the comments. If you've got prayers, send them where they count. If you've got tips, send them where they matter. Like subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss part 2. And answer me this. In your hometown, what keeps people safe? The law, the neighbors, or the land itself? Justice is patient, but it isn't passive.